Hey everybody, look at that. I can see my shadow. I think the month of May has been the coldest month I can remember in a long time. Rainiest. I got a little problem here. We've got a broken crank handle on the cover for the dump box on the F550, which is over here. See this hole up here? That bar is supposed to go through there, and I was at the quarry yesterday. I had it down here, rolled up in the corner, propped up on the side over there, and the loader operator said, "Hey, your tarp is falling down on it's laying on the floor." It moved back, it slid back, and it was on an angle like this. And you know, I had 5 tons of stone dumped in here. It would have been completely buried. You're not allowed to get out at that quarry without a hard hat and one of these fluorescent vests, and you can be kicked out of that site if you don't have that stuff with you. And I don't use this truck regularly, so all my fluorescent stuff's in the other truck. Alright, so over here at the drill press, I got the crank handle. It's a thin piece, that's the handle that spins there. And at this end, that's the device that locks. On the other side, there's a locking pin that locks right in there. I'll show you that in a minute. But this little hollow piece of aluminum, it's got a cross hole drilled in it to keep it spaced off. There should have been a machine groove and a C-clip put on there. That's to keep it spaced off the headache rack, so that the pin lines up with these grooves, and then torquing that year after year, it finally gave up the ghost and broke. So I found a piece of stainless steel, 3/4 inch, and I'm at the drill press. I'm gonna drill a couple holes. I need 2 holes. I need a hole over at this end too, 1/4 inch looks like. And then I think I'm gonna drill that hole. This is gonna be solid, and it's stainless. It's steel, so it shouldn't break. It should last the rest of the life of that truck. And the square tube that aluminum piece is welded into, I'm just gonna have to cut it off with with an angle grinder and a cutting disc. Yeah, that truck's had a lot of problems. Here's a motor from my old plow that I robbed some parts out of. I took one of the brushes. I tried to get it running. I spent like a good couple hours last week, and that motor's toast. So I'm gonna look for a rebuild kit. Here's the cover. Look at the corrosion in here. I pulled the cover off this one. I put it on the one from the dump truck. So it puffed. I think the corrosion puffed up so much that this chunk was pushed right off of there and broke. That's my best guess. And when it broke, it allowed even more water to get in there. These connections here are not waterproof. I know when I took the cover off this one, which is off my Western plow, it's an old one. It's kind of still runs, but it gave up the ghost when it was -40 out one of the coldest days. And I just bought a new motor. I cannot be without that. So when I pull that cover off, this end here, it's this end, all the bolt holes were siliconed around the bolts. So I don't know if Western do that, or whoever supply the motors to Western for their power packs, and they're upright on that dump truck. It's laying sideways like that. I'll show you where it is. You got to see this. Okay, so right here is the locking pin. You can lock onto that sprocket, this little point here. It's ground, I think, or something to fit into those little notches in it's a chain sprocket. And let's raise this thing up. It's working now. There's a control. It's kind of iffy. It's a used motor I use. You got to give it a kick once in a while. Come on, baby. You're making me lie. It worked. Yeah, I dumped a load yesterday, so. Okay, I'm a liar. Holy. Let me see what's wrong here. There we go. You get it. 3 good kicks. That's how I fix everything. I just kick it. Or I get my biggest hammer out. Okay, it's going up. right in here. That's a tank for the pump. Okay, that's a little noisy. Check it out. There is the motor end of that power pack. And if we look a little further in there, you can see the front wheel. That's the tire right there. Washed out. Well, you can't see the tire, but it's there. When I turn, that wheel is spraying dirt, water, salt, everything, grit, everything on that motor. It's in a terrible location. So my plan is turn that around, do a 180, and put the motor at this end. I think I can run the hose through here. There's enough space there to run a hydraulic hose, and maybe up through this little groove right here. And that's the hose right there. So the outside, the OD on that hose is about, with the protection, it's got some sort of protective sleeve over it, maybe close to 1 inch. So the drive shaft's right there. It can't go on this side. If that ever rubbed on the drive shaft, it'd be oil everywhere. It'd be a really bad day at the office. So yeah, this truck, look at this. It's got a Gooseneck Hitch here. It just flips around. Check that out. Is that cool or what? And then you got your 2 D rings. I think you plug in at the back. There's no plug up here. But the only thing you got to do to get that to work is take these 4 3 nuts. I'm going to lube those up and see if I can get them moving, because I think if I ever wanted to use this, I'd end up breaking those bolts trying to get them out. So yeah, that's what salt does to everything. Okay, I got some other updates for you in the shop. We're going to look at that pump from the other end. I'll go around here. Okay, here's the wheel. And if I slip the camera in right in here, there's a mud flap. Yeah, that's it right there. Is that a terrible location or what? When it's brand new, it works okay. Maybe in California or Texas or Florida it would be all right, but in Canada, this is a bad idea. I think what I'm going to do is put a quick attach fitting on the end of the hose, and it'll be at this end. We'll just unclick it, unplug some wires, and pull this pump right off, and we put the salt on in the winter and put it on a shelf in the shop. It'll be out of the weather. These are not expensive. They're probably around $600-700 with tax and everything, and you know, there's a couple hours labor to change it. So you have to buy the tank separately. They come with a small tank, those power packs. I think the last one I bought, I had to buy the tank separately. So I have an extra tank, but it's a small one. Okay, so what else is going on here? I'll show you some more stuff. All right, I'm in front of the Atlas lathe now, and it's really not a good day in the shop today, because I just got called by the supplier. I called him yesterday, find out what's going on. I had some parts on order since March, and this is a story behind the bearings on an Atlas spindle. Atlas lathe. They got Timken bearings in there, and you can see, shouldn't see daylight through there. Yeah, so I've got a little story for you. I remember this toolbox. I pulled it out of the garbage last year. This drawer guide here was bent really badly in an S shape. So I was able to straighten it. I couldn't believe that I could straighten it. I switched it up to this shallow drawer because it can't carry as much weight. You can see in there it's all discolored from the torch. I heated it a little bit. I might have been able to straighten it without even heating it. But down here are my parts for the lathe. Here are the old, call these the cups. You know, everyone, I've seen a lot of videos before I even bought that Atlas lathe. I was watching Mr. Pete 222, and he did mention once in a while that if the bearings ever go, they probably cost more than the lathe. But that's not really true, because I bought the bearings, and this one here genuine Timken bearings. Here's the part number. And this is for an Atlas 12-inch. Mine is a 3996. And here's the other bearing. There's the part number. One of them was a little over $20, and the other one's a little more expensive. The bigger one here, I think it's this one, was around $30. So that's not bad, $50 plus tax. Here's the old bearings. They don't look bad. You know, maybe if I had a microscope, I could check them a little closer. They don't even look bad at all, but they were making some noise, and they were you know, the lathe wasn't picking up speed like it's supposed to. So maybe they were just too tight. But these right here, these cups, are the expensive parts. Bearings are cheap. So there's the part number. I gave that part number to my supplier, and he ordered me the set that normally go with those bearings. And if I can get a focus here, you can see the part number if it'll focus. Come on. Yeah, so it's a what is that? A 162848. Yeah, and then this one here, that's the big one. Small one, the part's on the part number's over on the edge here. 14276B. That letter, it's not an 8 on the other one. It's a B. I think this one's a B too, or an A. That letter on the end, I think that's a B. It's not 16284.8. It's for B. And that letter tells you that there's something different about this cup. And you see it's got the shoulder here. So when I went to pick up the new bearings, which I picked up, and the races that they ordered, I had no shoulder here. So I said, well, that's not the right one. And the ones that he had were about $20, give or take, between $20 and $30 each. Well, this one, the big one's like $175, and this one's like $75 with tax. You're looking at over $300. So I said, well, you better order them. And you can see some wear. There's a little tiny bit of, yeah, see right there, you can see. You know what I think? I think I'm gonna put these in my lathe at home and run some like 2000 grit emery paper, sandpaper. Let me know what you guys think, and try and reuse these with the new bearings. This one here doesn't even have as much wear as that other one. So it's been very disappointing. I thought, oh, I'll have that. They said those races are on back order. Races, they're cups. And Tim can do a run when they have enough demand. I think that's how it works. They wouldn't really say. So they said they planned on making some of these last week of April, first week of May sort of thing. So by the time they ship them and they receive them, and they said probably second week of May. Well, it's now the 22nd of May. So I called yesterday wondering, it's been a week. They're supposed to be here over a week ago. What's the story? And they told me Timken have moved up the production of these, moved it ahead to July. So I won't get these till July. I can't even remember if he said beginning or end of July. I said, Jesus, man, that's another 2 months away. So I said, well, I've got a couple other bearings I got to go pick up. I got to order and pick up. When I go in to pick those bearings up, I'm going to think about it between now and then. I'm going to make a decision. So I also ordered 2 of these NSK made in Japan. I think these are made in Japan. These go on, these are 6204s. So they go on the counter shaft, I think it's called, or they go in here. So that housing, I got one ready to go in. I'm just going to press it in. Or is that the old one? That must be the old one. No, I think that's a new one. Yeah, here's the old one. The old ones, these did have signs of wear, so the grease is all dried right up, and they had the metal shields on them. These got the rubber shields or plastic. So those are going to be replaced. I've got them both. There's one, the other one's up. I just showed it to you. And it's funny because this one here, this shaft here goes through this housing here, and all it has is two little brass bushings on each end. And I thought, of all things, this should be the most worn out. It's got literally no wear at all on it. So it's got a little oiler that's very hard to get to. And I assumed, when I saw that, I thought, well, maybe it got oiled sometimes, and maybe it never got oiled. But they must have oiled it all the time, because it's okay. It's actually in really good shape. So when I get those, I got a decision to make. I'm either going to wait to order the 2 new cups or try and recondition these. And I think that's what I'm going to do. At $300 and some. Yeah, and I'll have brand new bearings. Just these, questionable. I wish I had Lance and Patrick's microscope there. Could check that. Anyway, leave me what you guys think. Leave it in the comments, because I don't know. I was perfectly willing. I paid for them already. I was perfectly willing to pay the money and get it. It's a 1960s lathe, and it's been over 50 years. So I didn't mind buying new parts, putting the money into it. I didn't pay much for that lathe. So I figured, might be worthwhile. It'll last another 50 years. But waiting another I've already waited 2 months, and waiting another 2 months is just leaving a bad taste in my mouth. I'm just kind of annoyed with that, with Timken. So, yeah, that's my dilemma. Oh, yeah, by the way, because I had a bit of time, and I always wanted to take this apart, I fixed this plunger. And look at that, it snaps back and forth. That was one of the annoying problems with that lathe, is the plunger in here, inside this little sleeve, there's a little detent ball and a spring behind it. And it had seized, so it wasn't working. And I managed to get that working perfectly. It's right in, you got to go through that hole right there. So what you do is you just grab onto this with a pair of pliers, rotate it around, it pulls right out. And then you look through that hole. There's a tiny little ball. Make sure you don't lose it. And the spring. I didn't pull them out. I just kept pouring oil to it, and it wouldn't come out. So it was seized inside, and I got it working back and forth. I got it freed up, and what used to happen was this thing would be spinning away, locked in the direct drive, and it would just slip out, and it would go into neutral. So this thing wouldn't be engaged, because you have to disconnect this pin to put it in back gears. And then you'd have to turn the lathe off, wait for it to stop, line up the hole, push it back in, and turn it back on and go again. And it was getting annoying, because it had gotten worse and worse. So that's one of the positive things that happened from this whole event. That's fixed. Thanks for watching.